Carries. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 2021-1202, introduced by Commissioner DeWitt.
Those changes from the last month's resolution, basically the same thing, but there's some additions in there. So once we get it read in and seconded, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. To the Honorable Rick Brewer, Chairman, and members of the Hawkins County Board of Commission in regular session, met this 20th day of December 2021. Resolution in reference utilizing ARPA COVID relief grant funding for purchase and installation of fire hydrants for Stanley Valley. Whereas in March 2021, an ad hoc committee was appointed to determine and make recommendations on the appropriate expenditures of the Federal American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, COVID stimulus funding. One of the preliminary eligible uses for the ARPA funding being investment in water infrastructure with substantial flexibility to identify the water infrastructure investments that are of high priority in the community per the interim final rule. And whereas the above mentioned ad hoc committee at its meeting on Thursday, December 2nd, 2021, met with representatives of several county water districts, and all were asked about their priority of infrastructure needs. None of the districts in attendance had fire hydrants listed as a high priority on their needs list. And whereas the committee requested that each water system report back with a list of what their current needs and estimated costs would be, and file their online application on the committee's online site so that their projects could be presented for potential funding from ARPA or other future infrastructure funding when it becomes available. And whereas the ad hoc committee, having heard the list presented, passed a motion to forward on to the full county commission a proposal involving expenditure of a portion of the federal ARPA funds toward more fully protecting the citizens of Stanley Valley community with an adequate number of fire hydrants. And whereas there's currently only one fire hydrant over a 14-mile stretch of water line in that community, that hydrant being located at the Stanley Valley Fire Department, and to adequately cover that length of line and provide for a better rating for homeowners insurance purposes, there is a need for additional hydrants. Now therefore be it resolved that the full commission approves setting aside but not immediately spending up to but no more than $60,000 of ARPA funding received by the county for purchase and installation of as many fire hydrants as that amount will cover the installation work being done by the Rogersville Water Department, the entity that constructed the original water line. An estimate for the present time material and construction costs is attached to this resolution, with the understanding that due to fluctuation of availability and pricing of materials may change at actual construction time, but no more than $60,000 will be expended. And therefore be it further resolved that normal county purchasing procedures be used for the expenditures of these funds pending the determination that final restrictions placed upon the ARPA funds will allow the use of the funds toward this project. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Motion by Commissioner DeWitt, second by Commissioner Roach. Commissioner Goins, you recognize.
Yes, I would like to add an amendment to this resolution requesting that we give up to $50,000 in general fund expenditures if necessary in order for these fire hydrants to be put into these areas. This part of this area is in my district, and that is my reason for bringing forth this amendment.
Is that amendment to the motion, Valerie? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Did you get that, Clerk?
You want to give up to $50,000 from Hawkins County General Fund to, what was the rest of that?
To make sure that the fire hydrants are completely installed in the 14-mile stretch area where needed. Does that cover it all, y'all?
So you're changing the funding from the ARPA to general fund?
If needed. You know, in case something happens that we can't do it with the ARPA, this is just to cover all bases.
Is there a second to that amendment? Does everybody understand the amendment?
I second that. Mr. Chairman.
Second by Commissioner Alvis to the amendment. Who's on the board? I'm sorry.
Just Barrett's first.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the questions I've got, and I noticed in the resolution, it refers to an adequate number of fire hydrants. I understand there's one up there currently in front of Stanley Valley Fire Department. The resolution references maybe up to 10, but I'm just curious if 10 fire hydrants is going to adequately cover that.
I think, Jeff, we have 9 intersections on Stanley Valley Road. If one went at each intersection, and some of them are fairly close together. I would think it would cover it. Would you think so, Stacy?
Yeah, it'd be better than what it is.
I mean, it'd be one, say at each intersection.
Right.
Okay. I was just curious. I know the more you have, the better off you are, but I just want to, if we're gonna do it, be sure that we've got enough. Thank you.
Does everyone understand the amendment?
No, I don't. Are you saying we're taking, if we have to, take 50,000 out of the general fund?
Yes.
50 or 60, I'm sorry.
I said 50, not 50. I don't know.
It was written up to
Was it
60.
originally 50?
60.
Okay, well, 60, I'm sorry. I swear I got 50 from somewhere.
And what's the purpose of taking it out of general fund instead of the
It's not instead, it's if something happens that we can't use those things. There were lots of questions last time. That's one reason that the resolution was pulled. So I just wanted to put this resolution on the floor, this amendment, just to cover our bases, just in case we need it to be done, instead of having to come back before the commission at a later date and ask for this money to be appropriated to the commission through the general fund. Does that make sense?
Commissioner Roach?
Commissioner Goins, I have no problem with your amendment, other than, the way that the resolution is written, it substantially depends on ARPA funding and the allowance of ARPA funds to be used for that purpose. That last line makes me think that, let's say that ARPA funds are not allowed according to federal regulation to be used by hydrants, then the entire resolution would die before your 50,000 or your 60,000, whatever, kick in, because the resolution depends solely on the approval of ARPA money for that. So I might suggest amending the last line of that resolution as well, because it says, and Mr. Phillips might be able to inform me a little better here, I might be off base. It says that it says, these funds pending the determination that the final restrictions placed upon the ARPA funds will allow the use of the funds for this project. That makes me think that even if the ARPA funds are not allowed, that the entire project would die, because that's what this resolution is based on. Your resolution essentially changes the substance of the resolution as a whole. So I might just say, you might want to think about amending that last line, but Mr. Phillips, can you add to that at all?
That'd be up to the commission if they.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, if she were to amend this resolution to add $60,000 from the general fund, the resolution implies that it depends on funding from ARPA. So if funding from ARPA does not happen, then the resolution essentially would die, and that general fund money wouldn't be allowed anyway, because the resolution as a whole would die. That's my question.
Well, actually, I'd say it in the event that, I guess I should have written all this down. In the event that the ARPA money could not be used, we would use money from the general fund.
I don't think it would die, Commissioner Roach. I think that if there's an amendment at the end that says basically what Commissioner Goins is saying, that, basically an amendment that says if this doesn't cover it, the general fund does, I think we're safe doing it that way.
And I'm fine with that. I don't want it to get hung up on a technicality.
You gotta remember that in order for the amendment to be effective, the resolution as amended would have to pass. So you
Yeah.
still have the original.
Yeah.
Commissioner Edens,
With all the different monies that we got, shouldn't this kind of be put before the budget committee?
Get one.
Before we decide to take it out of general fund?
Oh, for the general fund.
I'm not worried about the ARPA, I'm just wondering if maybe we should do something for the budget committee.
who'd you address that question to, Bob?
20 other
Chairman
people.
of the-
18 other people.
This,
Yeah.
There are other infrastructure monies coming.
Right.
We know that.
Yeah, I'm not saying we don't.
So, I mean, it would, in my mind, if we have to go to the general fund, if we approve an amendment that says we're gonna take 60 out of the general fund, if it comes to that, and this is gonna be a couple months down the road anyway, to make this determination. We'll know more about other infrastructure money.
Exactly.
And then it would simply, in my mind, would take a budget amendment to move it to the proper line.
Exactly, and at that point in time, you would have to bring that before the budget committee in order
Right.
to
And then the
approve that to be sent on to the full commission. So that should cover the entire issue.
I think what Commissioner Goins is saying, we would need to find a line item to put it in at some point with a budget amendment anyway.
this, we got two more people on board. To answer that question in a minute, Bob, according to Mr. Phillips, if we pass this resolution tonight, it's done bypass the budget committee.
Okay.
So, I asked,
That's correct. Or somebody can make a motion to send it back to committee, but if it passes, here tonight, you waive the budget committee.
Mr. Thacker,
I only had one question. I thought I heard Ms. Goins say part of this was in her district.
Yes. The part of Stanley Valley on the lower.
Part of Stanley Valley is, but this 14 mile covers that part of your district already. the
Yeah,
way
that's
it's written-
right.
the way it's written here.
Yeah, the only reason I commented that it's in my district was the fact that people would understand why I had an interest in it. I know that it's part of the 14 miles. I was just saying that.
Okay.
In case someone would think, what's she sticking her nose in for? You know, and it was because it is my fault.
Well, it starts at Blackwood Road and Meadowview.
Right,
Rest of it's in your district.
the part from Meadowview Road on down to the highway.
Commissioner Barker,
Mr. Chairman, I guess if we're gonna start making amendments like that, I mean, all due respect, I appreciate these two people defending their area. But we also had a gentleman from the fire department in Morrisburg who said they needed fire hydrants in Morrisburg, which is my district. So are we gonna set aside $60,000 out of the general fund for my district? If we are, I'd like to add that to the amendment because, there is just a dire need there as there is anywhere else. And I think we're getting the cart before the horse once again, because I attended a meeting in Newport and they said it was not brown water, which is what fire hydrants are, that it is drinkable, potable water that this funding will pay for. So basically what we're doing is safeguarding if we don't get the money from the ARP money, that we're going to take it out of the general fund. We've already passed the budget this year. We didn't put $60,000 in there to cover that. So, should this wait and go in front of the budget committee in the future? Or should, I just think we're getting cart before the horse.
Mr. Fields,
And, since we're making suggestions there, going along with, what Nancy said, we may be taking the lid off something we can't put back on. We may be better off withdraw the amendment that was made, if Mr. Goins wanted to, and leave this resolution where it was at. And then if we need money, go in front of the budget committee, like Ms. Barker said, that's what I was, just, that way we don't have to get the cart in front of the horse. We can always go back to it and ask the budget committee for the money if it don't pass. I mean, leave this resolution as is, as Mr. DeWitt read, and the fire hydrants go in as they're supposed to, and if they don't, I don't think anybody would have a problem with not giving the money to do it when time comes. But it's not my opinion to take it back, I'm just asking.
Commissioner Jesse.
What I'm concerned about is what about the other districts?
We had an opportunity for the other utility districts to come before us, and we asked them what their priorities are, specifically addressing fire hydrants and anything else. Nobody had fire hydrants high enough on their list because they don't have the lines to support it at this point. Their lines will come first. So there will be requests from them on down the road, just not specifically at this time fire hydrant.
But at that time, we don't know the proposed cost of everything, so
We asked them to put that together, and there is infrastructure money coming on down the line.
during the ad hoc committee, one of your members made the comment that, the newest member made the comment that all the districts should get together and decide.
With all
what it's gonna
respect,
cost.
Commissioner Jesse, you were not at the last ad hoc committee meeting where they did get together.
And I agree with Commissioner DeWitt. Everyone that was in attendance, they all addressed us and said they did not have no need for them.
As did Jeremy Jones, which is in your district.
Barbara, I hate if you can't do your job and you have to slam everybody else.
I don't need your remarks, Mr. Hawkins.
Commissioner Goins.
I was just gonna say, I just felt that each district that needed fire hydrants in the future could always bring forth their resolution and request whatever was needed. Since this resolution was only referencing this particular thing, that's why that I felt the amendment was needed. I
Okay.
feel that the amendment doesn't need to be withdrawn, and I feel we just need to vote on it.
Since the amendment's not been voted on, can I just pull the resolution?
Yes, sir, you.
I'm gonna pull the resolution.
Thank you.
Moving on.
No, I found if I was wanting to speak.
Does that mean there's no
I was
meeting in
wanting to
January?
ask Commissioner DeWitt to reconsider maybe putting the resolution, okay, he done asked. Good.
But we don't have to make it.
Several, you wish to speak? Let's-
May I make one comment about Mark DeWitt's resolution? There was a fatality in a fire in Stanley Valley not too many months ago. I hope that if there's another fire and somebody should unfortunately be killed, the blood will be on our hands. And I think that you are just jealous and afraid that somebody is gonna get some credit from this. And I think it's a shame.
Thank
End
you.
of conversation.
Thank you, Commissioner Trent.
Let's continue with the motion.